February is in full force, and on Big East Shootaround, we are counting down the days to the Big East tournament inside Madison Square Garden, a regular season title race in this league that will surely provide a thrill. Welcome on into our New York City studios, everybody. John Fanta here from the Big Apple. And in the Big East, there's no shortage of drama right now. Let's start with the standings in this conference. Two teams at 10-2. Xavier, after a thrilling 85-83 overtime win over Providence on Wednesday night, they are joined by the Marquette Golden Eagles, picked 9th in the preseason. Marquette has won 10 of 12 Big East games after Tyler Kolek and Cam Jones combined for 38 in a win over Villanova on Wednesday evening. Providence comes in at 9-3. Here comes Creighton, folks. They're on a winning streak. The Blue Jays are at 8-3. Seton Hall now at 7-5. We'll talk about them a little bit later. On today's show, we will ask the experts about the Big East Player of the Year race. It's wide open, folks. Big East Coach of the Year. There are cases to be made. And much more with Matt Norlander of CBS Sports, Jeff Borzello of ESPN. It is a conversation you do not want to miss. Plus, I go one-on-one with Tyler Kolek, the Marquette junior point guard who has been a stud for the Golden Eagles in his second year with the program. He's one of the nation's assist leaders. He is somebody that has taken his game to another level this season for Marquette, and he is the biggest reason why they've had the most efficient offense in college basketball. We start with headlines. And the first headline is this: X marks the spot. The Musketeers found a way Wednesday night, 85-83 over Providence. What a game in Cincinnati. It's a game in which Xavier got out to a 33-19 lead. Providence answers, just like you thought they would. Noah Locke, Devin Carter were fantastic in this game. Ed Croswell put in quite an effort. Bryce Hopkins had a double-double. But on this night, yet again, Xavier had 3 players go for 20 or more points. It was really a great performance by Jack Nunge, who had a double-double. Colby Jones, he stepped up once again for the Musketeers. Souley Boum just comes out of nowhere, folks. And if he wins Big East Player of the Year, which we'll talk about, you'll remember Wednesday night's game against Providence, because Boum didn't have a shot. He still finished with 20 points. He's got 10 20-point performances this year, and he had 9 assists. What a win for the Musketeers. They have only lost one time at home this year. That was to Indiana. They've won every one since. They've been a dominant team, especially at the Cintas Center. Headline number 2. Headline number 2 is that the Seton Hall Pirates are inching closer to the conversation in the NCAA tournament picture. The Pirates, they've set sail. And in this month of February, they are on the radar. Shaheen Holloway started 0-3 in the Big East. All right? Things did not look good for this team. You got to credit a first-year head coach in a year of transition to be able to get his guys to respond, particularly his point guard, Kadari Richmond, who was nails against St. John's, 15 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. First Seton Hall player since at least 2010 to have a 15, 13, and 7 game. Richmond was money, and Seton Hall with Casey Nadefo. Nadefo is one of the most valuable pieces to a team in the Big East. The Pirates are creeping up there. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Headline number 3. Fox Primetime Hoops take center stage in the Big East on Saturday night. It'll be Creighton and Villanova from Omaha on Saturday evening. The Wildcats paying a visit to the Blue Jays. To me, Villanova is a team that could play spoiler in this regular season title race in the final month of the regular season. Why? Because Justin Moore changes who they are. They gave Marquette a great game in Milwaukee on Wednesday night. Now they're going to face a Creighton team that's been on a winning streak, that has been playing their best basketball of the season, that's coming off a 10-point win over Georgetown. Wasn't necessarily pretty. It was a win. And it'll be interesting to see Eric Dixon meet Ryan Kalkbrenner. And if Villanova can keep Creighton in the half court and can get quality looks, it's going to be hard for the Wildcats. They've just had a tough go at it in these close games. They're 4-10 in games decided by single digits this season. Meanwhile, Creighton, they've looked like one of the best teams in college basketball in the last 2 to 3 weeks. They've played at that level. Trey Alexander has been fantastic. Art Kaluma is embracing his role. Creighton's starting five is one of the best starting fives in America. And when they're clicking and Ryan Nembhard is making things happen for his other pieces around him, look out. So it'll be the Jays and Villanova Saturday night on Fox for Fox Primetime Hoops. One of 5 games on the weekend, one of 4 games on Saturday. So, what do we make of this entire Big East conversation? From the Player of the Year race to Coach of the Year and more? Let's ask the experts and bring in Matt Norlander from CBS and Jeff Borzello from ESPN.
What do you think of this regular season title race, and who do you like the most?
If you had asked me this earlier in the week, I would have said Xavier. I think is the best team. And then as my, I guess, co-guest broke on Tuesday, Zach Fremantle is out up to a month, I think it was.
He will sit for at least 4 weeks, Sean Miller told me. And Sean Miller also said if there is no setback in his rehab, Sean Miller essentially guaranteed Fremantle will be back at the Big East tournament at the absolute latest.
Okay, so he's out for 4 weeks. That brings us up to basically the end of the season. So unfortunately, I'm not saying they have no chance. I just think it really hurts them, given that the combination of him and Nunji just created so many issues for teams. And now with him out, they're going to have to restructure it a little bit. So I'll give the edge to Marquette over Providence, just because Providence, I believe they still have to play Xavier twice. They have to go to UConn. They still have Creighton. So I just think Marquette's schedule makes it a little bit more feasible for them to I guess, edge out Providence. I think they split the regular season, so that's not really going to be a factor. But I just think Marquette's schedule down the stretch is a little bit lighter than Providence.
My answer here, it's not a cop-out. My prediction is that 3 of these 4 will tie atop the standings.
Oh boy,
Fanta,
okay.
Are you looking for like the default then who gets the 1 seed tiebreaker? Basically, who's got the 1 next to their name in the bracket in Manhattan?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so if 3 teams are tying, which could very well happen. Now, I would argue that Marquette's got the easiest path because they should be favored in every game with the exception of a trip to Creighton, and then a trip to UConn still could get dicey for them.
I do like Norlander's Creighton shout, though, because they've already gone to Xavier. They've already gone to Marquette. They still do have to go to Providence, but they get Marquette at home. They get UConn at home. And we're talking about what games they're favored in. They're going to be favored in every game but the trip to Providence. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of didn't really consider them because I focused on the 3 teams tied right now. But the way Creighton's playing, the remaining schedule they have, if Norlander's 3 teams tied atop the league comes to fruition, I think there's a good chance Creighton's one of those 3 teams.
Give me Creighton, Marquette, and Xavier to tie atop the league, and Providence to be 1 game behind. That is my prediction, with the side prediction that Xavier beats Providence Wednesday night to get a 1-game lead in the short term over Providence.
Do you all realize that what Norlander's theory just leads to is the potential for a 2:30 Thursday afternoon game at Madison Square Garden between Providence and Connecticut?
Correct. That's literally what I was just looking at.
Hell yeah.
I was like, oh boy.
Give it to me.
Well, let's do it right now. Jeff Borzello, who would be your Big East Player of the Year?
That's tough. I guess I'll go with Sule Boom right now. In 5 weeks, I have no idea.
My theory is the coaches might vote in Bryce Hopkins' favor because he has totally changed the complexion of Providence this season.
That's true. You could say Kolek has changed the trajectory of Marquette, just his improvement in the way he's been. I mean, if you were basing it on the last 2-3 weeks, he probably wins it. That's tough. You can go Hopkins, you can go Kolek, you can go Boom. I mean, Sonogo was great for the first half of the season. You can't vote for him right now, I don't think.
Nope.
But
still leads the league in scoring as we speak right now, by the way. Sonogo
yeah, I mean,
but Hawkins is right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Jones is nipping at Kolek's heels. Sule Boom would be my pick. I highlighted him this week at CBSSports.com and sort of his story getting there. You know, he is playing a combo point guard role that he had never played before. And the fact that he has done that, and Sean Miller was telling me because Sean started anew with this program, he didn't coach any of these guys a year ago. It made the transition all that much easier. And Xavier was his only official visit. It's impressive. Borzella, I'm with you. I'd probably go Boom right now. Narrowly, it's a real big toss up though. Now, who is coach of the year? Because right now, compelling cases. Miller steps in right away, and I know they won the NIT, but still, he steps in, top the league right now. Providence wasn't picked high. Obviously, Shaka is doing what he's done.
I think it's got to be Shaka.
It's got to be, right? But what if Shaka doesn't win the league? And let's say Xavier.
Who wins the league now?
Let's say Xavier wins the league standalone. Would Miller win it over Shaka in second place?
No, because Xavier was.
Yeah, I think it's Shaka. I mean, Xavier was picked like second in the league, no?
Xavier was picked second. If they win the league, they're supposed to be right there, and they would have won it. But I go with the team that was picked to finish ninth. If you go from ninth to a top 3 finish, if not first or second, Marquette, Shaka Smart deserves it here because nobody could have seen him being 17-5 as we're talking and 9-2 in the conference. And I'm most impressed with the way that he has legitimately developed guys. Omax Prosper's better. David Joplin's a better player. Kolick, of course. Cam Jones has brought in more. And Oso Ighodaro might be his best development case at the 5. Everybody thought going into the year, how the heck is Marquette going to be able to match up with Ryan Kalkbrenner, Adama Sanogo, Joel Soriano? They just don't have it. And they've just found a way to kind of go against the grain and do it well.
At Texas, he kind of got away from getting a bunch of guys who just wanted to play hard or willing to play for him. He had to go. I mean, at Texas, you have to go recruit top 50 kids. You have to recruit 5-star kids. Not all of them kind of fit what he wanted to do. At Marquette, I don't know. There might be 2 top 100 kids on this roster. And I just think it's helped. I think when you have a team of guys who are open to learning and they're open to listening, very few egos on the team. I just think it's really more conducive to how Shaka has coached at his best in the past.
I agree with Borzella. I have nothing to add to that. He bing bango on the money. Yes.
I'll take it.
We haven't done a deep dive on Providence, so we'll lead with this here. Over the last 2 seasons, as we are talking again before the Friars-Xavier game, Ed Cooley has led Providence to a record of 44 wins to just 11 losses. And mind you, he lost his entire starting 5 from last season. There's a lot of people who say, well, Bynum was basically a starter. He came off the bench. Okay. He lost his entire starting 5. He has reloaded. Norlander, is Cooley one of the masters of the transfer portal or what?
Yeah, he is. I mean, what he has been able to do in that staff, one of the more underrated staffs in the country, probably is outstanding. When you step back, when you see what they do this season, but you step back and you take a scan at Providence, Cooley's taken this school to heights it hasn't been before in terms of coming off the Sweet 16. He had 5 straight tournament runs earlier in his tenure. PCU had never done that before. And it matters. Providence basketball, it had a significant drought for much of the 90s into the early 2000s. And basically, for the first couple of years of Cooley's tenure. But since 2013-14, they were an 11 seed that season. They have mattered and been relevant almost every single season since, and obviously been a tournament level team almost every single season since.
All right, rapid fire to close things out.
Yep.
This is a different question, and it's all about timing. I understand it. But picture this image in your head on Saturday night, March 11th, inside Madison Square Garden. The trophy will be handed to who? Who's going to be the king of the garden? Just call your shot.
I'm going to go first because I know Borzella wants me to go first. The champion of the 2023 Big East men's basketball tournament will be your UConn Huskies.
Wow.
Well, I guess I can't say that now.
You can. It's allowed.
No, I'm not. I'll go Creighton. If you told me that Fremantle was going to come back like a couple of games before the end of the season, I would have said them. But if you're saying his first game back is going to be, whatever that Wednesday, Thursday is, I think it's going to take him a couple of games. I'll go Creighton. I just think that their balance at both ends of the floor is really good right now. Like I said, the more, the added dimension Shireman gives them gives their offense a little bit more pop. So I'm going to go with them.
I think you would see real tears from Greg McDermott. Here's why. He has been the bridesmaid. He has been to the Big East Tournament Championship game 4 times out of the 9 years. Creighton has been in the Big East. 5th out of 10, that prediction sounds very valid, that maybe he finally has that moment where he is the one that's not walking out and into the losing press conference room or walking out a champion. That would be quite a script. And if UConn were to do it, Madison Square Garden, as we know it, would not exist following the game.
And I might have to write a Hurley feature if that happens, by the way.
You actually,
I got some material for you.
Okay, sounds good.
Not all your material made it in the feature article. We definitely know that. You can follow Jeff Borzello at ESPN.com. Follow Matt Norlander at CBSSports.com. Thank you. Ask the experts.
Thanks to Matt and Jeff for joining us on Shootaround. John Fanta back here in our New York City studios. Hey, looking at the national picture, the Big East in the net rankings. 3 teams in the top 20. UConn still holding steady at 8. Huskies are 6-6 in the Big East. They will take on Georgetown on Saturday, FS1 at noon Eastern time. We'll look to just keep staying on the right track here as the month of February is here. Marquette is at 11. Creighton's at 17. Xavier's at 26. Providence is at 36. And Seton Hall hanging in the top 55 of the net. As we talked about with them, they're the bubble team in this conference. Mike DeCourcy has them hanging right around that first 4 out, next 4 out slot. Pirates will take on DePaul on Sunday. It's a game that they need to have to continue that trajectory. Hey, let's turn to one of the most interesting storylines in college basketball. And it is Shaka Smart, who has led Marquette to an amazing season with player development. Shocker, right? In 2023 college basketball, it's happened for the Golden Eagles. And it really starts and ends with one of the best point guards in the country, Tyler Kolek. Over his last 5 games, we all know that he can distribute the basketball. He's averaged over 7 assists. But Kolek over the last 5 has averaged 19 points per game. And he's on the same team that Cam Jones is on. Does that not tell you how good Marquette is? And it also tells you Kolek is coming on as a Big East Player of the Year candidate. Here's our one-on-one conversation with the Marquette budding star. He has 181 assists on the season. Over the last 5 games, he's averaged 19 points, 7 assists. It's Tyler Kolek, the Marquette star point guard, joining us this week on Big East Shootaround. Tyler, before we talk about what this season's been like, I want to look back on your career. Frankly, you go under-recruited. You're a 3-star guy out of high school. How much did that serve as motivation?
I mean, I feel like all my life I've kind of been a little overlooked. Shorter white kid, not as athletic, and but I just feel like I stayed down and really worked hard and stayed the course of and stayed on the path of what I've been trying to do, and it's taken me great places. I mean, where I am today, I would have never imagined 3-4 years ago.
Where's that work ethic come from?
Just the love of the game. I mean, not many people love the game as much as I do. And if you really love it, then you really work for it and strive for bigger things. I mean, I'm trying to make something of myself and make this team something special. So that's kind of where that inner motivation comes.
How did you fall in love with basketball?
Well, I've been playing since I was really young. My dad, really good. He scored 2,000 points in college. So when we were younger, my mom was working nights. He would take us to the gym, play. I have an older brother, so I was always playing up with him, playing with my dad, playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3 with them at the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA. So just from a really young age, I just always loved it, always been around it.
Let's turn to the Golden Eagles. 18-5 on the year, 10-2 in the Big East. Shaka Smart said that this team had in-depth conversations in the spring after the way the last year ended with the first-round loss to the NCAA tournament. He then said you went on a retreat in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about those experiences, Tyler, and how the authentic conversations you guys have with each other helped you get to where you are.
Yeah, there's no reason to shy away from those types of conversations about last year. I mean, we know how we finished. I think it was 3-8 or whatever. And we're still constantly talking about it. We actually talked about it the other day. We had almost identical records coming into last night. I think we were 15-7 or 15-6 last year. It was one game off of what we are this year. So we're still continuing to have those conversations, continuing to grow and learn from last year. But those conversations started last spring, right when we talked about what was the difference between going 7-0 and 3 and whatever we went down the stretch. And so those continued all throughout the summer, just building the habits that we wanted to build. And then again in the fall, like you said, we went on a retreat and really just got connected as a team and really kind of laid down the foundation of who we wanted to be individually as players and who we wanted to be collectively as a team, and the coaches included. And I think that's really helped us this year, really identifying what each guy does well and what our strengths are.
Why is this Marquette team different?
Just the connection that we have. I mean, we love each other. We love playing with each other. Coming to the huddle last night, and also right after we break out from the team huddle, we come into the 5-man huddle. He's saying, "I love playing with y'all," like right before the game and even continuously during the game. So it's constant reminders that we love each other and that we're doing it for each other. That's really the biggest thing.
How would you describe the relationship you have with Cam Jones, and how do you bring the best out of each other?
Yeah, I probably know him. I push his buttons probably the best out of anybody, just because I know how great he can be. And we spent a lot of time together on the court, off the court. So it's really been good. I mean, he gets in the zone. He helped us. That half-court shot yesterday was probably the biggest shot of the game, because they had just hit a 3, and then we were coming down going into half. We kind of needed a little momentum swing. But he's been phenomenal for us this year. The step that he's taken forward this year has been amazing. I'm so happy for him.
Shaka Smart and Marquette have been regarded as the perfect fit for one another. Everybody talks about why there's just such a comfort level there. You're playing for the guy every single day. What is it like playing for him? And how would you describe just how much he's enjoying this ride at Marquette University?
Even over these past 2 years, you can just see the change in his overall demeanor, the way he really loves us. I mean, coming from his last situation, it was a tough situation. I don't think he had complete buy-in to the type of person that he was, and the players kind of embracing him like we really do. I mean, top to bottom, every guy loves him. Every guy on our team, every guy on our staff, every person involved with our program, he cares for them deeply, and we care for him. And it's just, he started the foundation of relationships in this program, and that's why we're so special, because we have those strong relationships and connections with everybody.
We thank Tyler Kolek for the time. You asked, we answer. It's time for the Big East Hoops mailbox here on Shootaround. Opening up the phone, looking at questions that were sent in at Big East MBB, at John_Fans on Twitter. At LTDemo97 asks, do you think any Big East teams, John, have a Final Four run in them? All right. I think that there's a couple of cases here. The first being the country's wide open. The climate of college basketball could allow for some teams that maybe you don't think of as a Final Four team in another year, but this year it's wide open, folks. It really is. I mean, at the moment, Purdue's the one team in the country that you would say is the absolute number one. Tennessee just lost to Florida earlier this week. Alabama got run off the floor by Oklahoma last week. And my point is that college basketball has a wide openness to it. Creighton has Final Four makeup. On their best day, they're one of the 10 best teams in the country. I still maintain that. Yes, the Blue Jays, you look at it and you say, well, they're 8-3 in Big East play, but look at how they've played with Ryan Kalkbrenner. They're 14-5 when he's on the floor. Creighton's a team that can do it. To me, you go beyond them and you look around, Marquette is getting overlooked nationally because people don't associate them with NCAA tournament wins. They haven't won a tournament game in a decade. But that's the past. This is now. They've got the best offense in college basketball. How many times do you watch the NCAA tournament and you see a team wither because they can't score? Marquette can score. Shaka Smart's been to a Final Four. He knows what it looks like. And to me, I just don't think they're getting enough credit nationally for who they are, what they've been. Top 15 in the net, top 15 in the AP Top 25. So you could say, well, they are getting enough credit. But I don't know if people are associating them in that conversation. They should start. Could UConn make a run in the NCAA tournament? Of course they could. Because they have Adama Sanogo, who's an All-American, and Jordan Hawkins is fantastic. So the point is there are multiple teams that have a shot to make a real run. Providence went to a Sweet 16 last year. That should help them when they get on the NCAA tournament stage because you've been able to win. So I look at that as another team that certainly has a case. And beyond that, you think about Xavier, the Zach Fremantle injury is going to be interesting for them to navigate. Sean Miller's done an amazing job with them and knows what success at the highest level is like. I think for Xavier, the key is going to be defense. So good question, LT Demo. Now, in a very human moment, the producers of this show will relate. My phone died. So I'm getting out my laptop here on the mailbox because this is what we do here on Shootaround. And we ask for your questions, and I'm going to give you some answers. We got a lot of them in. But I think that there's a lot of teams to answer the question there that could feasibly have a case to make a run deep in the NCAA tournament. All right, let's see what we've got next here. We had a lot of good questions. Mike says, seems like most of the attention for Big East Player of the Year is on Sule Boom, Sanogo, and Hopkins. But where is the love for Tyler Kolek? With a little ways to go, does he have a shot at receiving that honor? Put Tyler Kolek in the race. We already did. And we're telling you again, he's absolutely in that race. The Big East Player of the Year race is fascinating. Sule Boom deserves the highest of consideration because he has been the most steady of the guards in the Big East production-wise, coming up big in moments. He is Xavier's big-time shot maker. He scored the last 5 points in that win over Providence. Hopkins has been a game changer for the Friars. However, it looks like Ed Cooley's actually getting the other parts to evolve, which sometimes hurts a Player of the Year candidacy, but Hopkins could still get it. He looks like the best pro prospect in the Big East. He's getting some serious looks in that department. And Sanogo has to be considered because he's the leader in the Big East in scoring. And he still is such a dominant force. And if he could lead UConn on a stretch run, then we'll talk about that. But if Kolek keeps scoring like this, like in the final 5-6 weeks of the season, if Tyler Kolek's averaging more than 16, 17 points per game, he's got to be Player of the Year. Because you would be accounting for over half your team's production offensively for the best offense in America. And that would also mean that Marquette would win the Big East regular season title. And to the victor goes those types of honors. So that's the way that I kind of see it there with the Big East Player of the Year race. All right, next question. Let's see. We got one from @Jerome Fan Club. Now that Jerome is a starter, is he still in the running for Sixth Man of the Year in the Big East? We've gotten asked about the Sixth Man of the Year award more this season than I've ever been asked about it before. I guess he is. I don't know how that works. If he's going to start the rest of the season, does that mean he can win Sixth Man? I'm not so sure about that. We might have to reevaluate the Sixth Man of the Year award. I know that Jerome Hunter Fan Club, the Sixth Man of the Year, whether Jerome Hunter wins it or not, should be sponsored by Jerome Hunter every year from here on out. Like that's just a given. Let's see. Gabe, G Medeiros 5_ says, do you worry about the top of the Big East beating up on each other too much for March, or will it help? They're going to war. Gabe, I don't worry about that. And here's why. Some years your conference goes 8, 9, 10 deep, right? And you do beat up on each other. And then we've seen the after effects of that in March. The fact is, Gabe, that this year in the Big East, there's a real clear-cut top 6, a real clear-cut top 4, but then a clear-cut top 6. My point is, it's not the worst thing in the world when your league sometimes has a year where there's a bottom, because it allows certain teams to figure things out, and it allows certain teams to accumulate victories. Like for UConn this week, they beat DePaul, and now they'll have Georgetown this weekend. For UConn right now, winning games is the priority. They just need to get back to their winning ways. All right, we're winding down here on the mailbox. At Geronimo3 asks, John, why are Providence fans so obsessed with UConn? And you're not obsessed with Providence? It's a rivalry. Of course you're obsessed with each other. You're asking me, you a UConn fan, are asking me why Providence fans are obsessed with you. Isn't that kind of counterintuitive? Let's see. We'll have time for 2 more. We've got John Wilson. At John_Wilson6 asks, what are the keys to the rest of UConn's season? So for me, there's 3 things. Number 1, half-court offense. Taking the right shots. Look what happened against Xavier when UConn took the right shots. When they weren't taking good shots early, they fell behind. Number 2, Jordan Hawkins realizing he needs to be the guy. They need to ride him. He's their best scorer. He's their best offensive player. Give him the basketball, let him roll. Number 3, Adama Sanogo staying at 100%. Remember last year, Sanogo, as March rolled in, he started to wear down a little bit? It's very important for him to be productive in money time. Good question here. Brad Parsons says, better player, Tyler Kolek or John Stockton? I love it. That's a great question. I'll tell you what, there's so many good ones that came in here this week. Somebody just asked me, a real good one. What's the best game I've been to this year? All right, we'll end with that. What's the best game I've been to this year? It's from Crosstown Miller. So he's got a little bit of a rooting interest. The best game in person, Xavier Providence, Wednesday night. Overtime game. Jared Bynum is this close to beating Xavier again. I love that the first meeting between these two teams was February 1st. The rematch will be March the 1st at the AMP. Now that spells fun. That's the best game. Marquette Xavier's a close second in Cincinnati. Xavier's just so highly entertaining this year. The wildest game I've seen, UConn Seton Hall. For Seton Hall to be down 17 and come back and win that game, Casey Nadefo coming up huge. If the Pirates don't win that game, we're not talking about them as much as we have on this show, because they've won 6 of 7. You win 6 of 7 in this league. If you win 4 straight road games in the Big East, you're doing something right. Seton Hall's done that. So for me, the wildest game is Seton Hall's comeback win over UConn, because the wild result produced a run out of Seton Hall. And we'll see if they can keep that going. Weekend schedule, everybody. Weekend schedule. And we thank you for the mailbox questions. We appreciate all of you. Weekend schedule looks like this. At noon on Saturday, FS1, it's Georgetown and UConn. That'll be followed on FS1 by Butler and Marquette. So for the Golden Eagles, they're in a position here to get to 11-2 and to take care of business. We'll see if they can do that. Over on Fox, 5 Eastern time, St. John's travels to Xavier. Hey, you're interested in guard play? Sule Boom meets Posh Alexander. Get ready for points in that one. And following that one on Fox, it'll be Gus Johnson and Jim Jackson from Omaha, 7:30 Eastern time. Fox Primetime Hoops, the first Big East game on Fox Primetime Hoops this season as Villanova visits Creighton. The weekend rounds out at noon Eastern time on Sunday. Over on FS1, it's DePaul at Seton Hall. Over on Fox, it's a top 5 showdown in the women's game as number 1 South Carolina visits number 5 Connecticut. That will be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us here on Big East Shootaround. Thanks to Tyler Kolek, Jeff Borzello, and Matt Norlander. I'm John Fanta. Enjoy your weekend at Big East Hoops, everybody.